I've never had an IT job, but now that I've run around inside of a computer fixing things in Recompile, I'm pretty sure I'm more than qualified to run your network. This 3D metroidvania tells a brief but entertaining sci-fi tale filled with hacking, shooting, and platforming. You know, just like in actual computer repair. But while the premise is intriguing and unique, the combat, puzzles, and platforming within it are about as bland as they can get. Recompile takes place in a unique, minimalistic virtual world where you control a rather unremarkable anthropomorphic computer program who shoots robots, solves puzzles, and hacks computers by running around and jumping on buttons. The tried and true Metroidvania design has you steadily unlocking new abilities that make you more lethal or let you access new areas as you unravel the compelling mystery of a space station that's fallen into disarray from within its computer system. Like its simplistic art style and ambient music, Recompile's sci-fi story is as sparse as can be. Just about all of it is delivered through collectible text logs. These captivating bits of backstory detail the unsettling steady decline of a crew of space travelers and their increasingly creepy and unstable AI construct. You never actually see or speak with another character, but every bit of text you find is extremely well written. Sure, it's tempting to just skip over everything and get back to playing as soon as possible, but Recompile makes it worth your while. Searching for every possible fragment of information became an obsession as I crept ever closer to understanding the full picture of the tragic events that led to this cyber dystopia. The dialogue is superb, and each character grew on me as I read more. So the story is quite good and kept me intrigued the whole way through, but the stuff you're actually doing between these text logs isn't quite so inspired. Most of the time you'll be hopping around big empty levels in incredibly run-of-the-mill platforming that's been done better in a dozen other games. It's very standard stuff. You start out with a regular jump, but unlock multi-jumps, mid-air dashes, and even gliding along the way, all the familiar mechanics you'd expect to find in a Metroidvania platformer. Nothing ever surprised me. Its platforming and controls aren't actively bad by any means, but they also don't do much to challenge or excite you either, ending up feeling passable but forgettable as a result. When you're not jumping on platforms, you're jumping on buttons as you noodle your way through very simple circuitry-themed puzzles, like this one. If you're a fan of redstone circuits in Minecraft, you'll feel right at home following wires in these logic-based distractions, though they never get complex enough to be called obstacles. In fact, if you'd rather not spend the time to figure out each puzzle, that's completely fine. You need only hop on a few buttons in a random order to solve them through process of elimination. It's all surprisingly elementary for how complex some of the circuit mazes appear to be at first, and it's downright disappointing that they never present any kind of challenge. But of all the gameplay disappointments in Recompile, combat is by far the worst offender. Simply put, it's really sloppy. Each of the 5 weapons is slow and unwieldy, aiming down the sight slows you to a frustrating crawl, and you can't point your weapon very high in the air at all. That last point makes fighting the many flying robots an absolute pain in the neck, as you have to stop aiming down the sights, run to a better vantage point, and then aim again. Thankfully, there isn't a whole lot of combat to begin with, because enemies only appear sporadically and rarely pose a threat. But when they do, you'll be met with clunkiness that's hard to ignore and sometimes painful to get through. It doesn't help that enemies are wildly inconsistent in their deadliness. Sometimes they'll barely engage, while other times they'll bombard you with attacks before you can draw your weapon. When you do take damage, your health bar goes down so fast and with so little warning that most times I died without ever knowing I was in any real danger. Bosses are even worse because they usually spew one-hit kill attacks all over the place and require you to make your own overly precise attacks to take down. But after a few frustrating deaths, you'll fire a few shots and the boss will die abruptly without fanfare, leaving me wondering what changed when I didn't alter my strategy at all. It makes the finales at the end of each area completely anticlimactic. The good news is that most of Recompile's shortcomings are mitigated by its briefness. This adventure can be completed in a few short hours, and bland final boss aside, it has a satisfying ending that genuinely rewarded the time I spent collecting and reading through all the intriguing lore entries. I can appreciate a short, entertaining story that respects my time, even if it doesn't challenge me in interesting ways. Recompile is a competent metroidvania with a strong story and great writing, but its gameplay just can't keep up. Its platforming and puzzles are too simplistic, and its infrequent combat can be frustratingly inconsistent. It was hunting for bits of lore between those sections that managed to keep me interested for its handful of hours. It's a short-lived and sometimes forgettable Metroidvania, but with a story that still makes it a few hours well spent. For more Metroidvania action, check out our reviews of Axiom Verge 2 and Grime, and for everything else, stick with IGN.